In XI, although we use the terminology mastermind, it's actually the master consciousness. Hi, this is Masati. Welcome to my podcast, Exponential Intelligence. And today we're going to be defining the mastermind. I'll be explaining the principle of the mastermind, why it's important on you becoming your best possible self, conventional definitions of the mastermind, how XI, Exponential Intelligence, uses the mastermind to become, again, your best possible self. So we'll just jump right in. And, the purpose of the mastermind, the way XI uses it, and then conventional definition is that you become a better individual because you're harnessing, say, the resources of other people around you, right? So you become a team, or you become in the zone. And that's what the mastermind is used. The conventional definition of the mastermind is that usually, business individuals or sports teams, they come together and they bounce ideas and concepts off people. And you've heard of the mastermind, business mentorship, mastermind groups, mastermind coaching, again, business mentorship. All those aspects are the mastermind. So the conventional definition of the mastermind is, two or more individuals coming together and then brainstorming on, say, a subject. Okay? But the mastermind it's a biological process. And that's how exponential intelligence understands it. And it's a very key aspect of this process that we need to understand to utilize the benefits of the mastermind properly. And I'll explain briefly what the mastermind is in the most, say, simplest form I can. So, for example, you're at a soccer stadium, and then all of a sudden you see the crowd, rush the field for some reason or another. There wasn't, say, a particular individual that rushed the field or started that rush. Usually you would see a whole group start to rush the field and then everybody else follows. Okay, why does that happen? Or even in nature, if you've seen a flock of birds or a school of fish, if you've seen fish, all of them turn around just like that, and they flip around just like that, right? You see that there's no leader. Okay? That's the key. And so the conventional definitions bypass the acknowledgement. And so the limitations of the mastermind or the power of the mastermind becomes limited. Furthermore, conventional definitions hold on to, the aspect of the group. Okay? So, for example, you have 10 people in your mastermind group, and then the norm becomes the mastermind. Okay? So a mastermind in conventional definitions or XI definitions is that when two or more individuals get together, it creates a third person. So whether it's 2 people, whether it's 1 million people, there's another person, another personality that gets created. Okay? That personality dictates how the group operates or how the relationship of the group continues on. This is, again, School of Fish, the group in the stadium, or gang members, right? You get sucked into the mastermind. And even if you're separated from that mastermind, for example, gang members, right? You get pulled into their drama or their concept or their way of thinking. So even if you're, say, moved away from that group, you would still, say, get in trouble the way that gang would. If that makes sense to you. So it goes much deeper. So let's bring it back into more applicable situations, but I just wanted to give you an extreme version, is that, when you're in a corporate structure or, say, a family structure, there's a mastermind that you can't get out of. You can understand this. The mastermind concept is that if you've moved away from your house, right? You're older, you moved away, you're coming back for Thanksgiving or the holidays, or I don't know, whatever holiday opportunity, right? You're back in the family house. What do? You revert back to an older version of who you are, just naturally, right? That mastermind dictates that you revert back to, say, when you left it. Okay? That's how powerful the mastermind is. That's why you can't get away from some of your basic habits that you should get away, especially as of teenage years. And then if you age, if you're older and you're still living at home, well, that's even worse. Okay? I'm not saying that living at home is an issue, but the way most people live at home, again, because of the mastermind principle, is very detrimental because you never grow out of who you are as a younger version of who you are. Okay? So let's take a deep breath in, and I'll create a mastermind, say, scenario for you, the conventional process, and then the XI definition. So, and we'll take a group of 10 people or whoever is listening to the podcast. And the way my abilities work, it doesn't matter if you're listening live or if you're listening via recording. It's all the same because it's frequencies that go beyond time and space. That's why it's all the same. So in a conventional mastermind, hopefully I might be able to help you understand that. Okay? So if you're in a group, or if you're not in a group, say you're in a family space, you're always connected to some form of mastermind, even if you're separate. The mastermind, if you're an individual, stuck on an island, is that the mastermind is of human consciousness. Okay? So imagine what I talked about, the early definition, as they work on you at a frequency level. Okay? And that's all I'll say about it, but I'll ask you how you'll feel later on. Okay? So the mastermind, you're on a desert island. Well, how can you be still stuck on a mastermind? Because you're still human. You're still rendering, or the consciousness, say, of humans, right? And all the aspects of humans, or all the experiences of humans that have ever happened to humans, you're running because you're part of that mastermind. So whether you're a group of billions or you're a group of 10 trying to get a project going, you bring into that mastermind all your data, all your parents' data, all the generational data of the past into that mastermind, because that's how you define yourself in your group. So imagine that. That's a lot of garbage to sift through when you're trying to, say, get a project done, right? Or you're trying to get to the next best thing, right? There's a lot of interference with that situation. Even a business mastermind or a mentorship program. You might be learning something from that individual, but then at the same time, the concepts might be fantastic, but you're pulling in all their generational patterns, including health issues, psychological issues, all those things that you're learning, because now, again, you and the mentor are a mastermind. Right? You've come together. They're learning your stuff as well. And that's very detrimental. So think of the consequences. I'm not going to go through all the consequences, but think of the consequences that can happen in most mastermind situations. Now, there are people who do mastermind right? Like Andrew Carnegie and, again, Napoleon Hill. Those individuals who actually coined the version of mastermind or the labeling of mastermind, they were doing it properly. Let's take a deep breath in again. The XI definition of mastermind is very, very different, especially the way I create the groups for you. Okay? And those groups stay with you, by the way. Okay? Again, the way I help you hardwire them into your system, because I use your innate biological process to help you create the mastermind. So part of the innate biological process that goes into exponential intelligence is that you always create a mastermind to be your highest version of who you are, not the norm. In today's society, again, it's the norm that controls the mastermind, or it's that the third personality that is created is of the norm. Okay? In the XI mastermind, the biological process kicks in, and then you filter out all the distortions, what I talked about, your hereditary patterns, all those things, and you filter out that is what is important for you for the task at hand. So imagine that all the garbage that you've brought in, say being a female or being a male, you've brought into that group. Your identity of a woman, abused woman, not abused woman, all those things, you're seeing the project, say, within that mastermind. So the XI mastermind, you filter all that out, and then you're not filtering yourself as, say, a woman, okay? And in this example, a woman that's divorced, that has 5 kids, and so on and so on and so on. You're bringing that into the project. You're bringing it into, say, the filter of the group that gets generated, right? So you're all just a mixture. If you could imagine, hundreds of marbles and thousands of marbles, and you threw it all in a bowl. That's a lot of garbage to filter out for that, say, one nugget of importance for you, for your project or your endeavor, right? So the XI Mastermind allows you to filter all those things. It puts you at a higher level of consciousness. So a lot of benefits to that. And we'll just go through the benefits. One of the major benefits is, like I said, is that you're not filtering, or you filtered out the garbage that you're not. So you're in a pure state. You're in a higher performance, say, logic. You're in a higher performance of emotion. Imagine what that could do to a team that wants to connect. This is where in sports fields, they get into the zone, right? How do they get into the zone? Well, if you've watched Soul, the latest Disney movie, right? They get into that zone space. Well, what they do is how they do that is they filter out who they're not, and then they step into that zone, right? And then you can connect into that zone. Again, that's most sports people do that. So the XI Mastermind creates that zone space just by, again, removing the filters that you're not. The other aspect of it is that the norm of the group of the XI Mastermind is not the norm. It is not created by the level that you're at. Okay, say that humans are at a level 0 consciousness, right? And we're just throwing out numbers. Humans are at a level 0 consciousness, and say your group happens to be a level 4 consciousness, the norm. So your mastermind is a level 4 consciousness. In the XI Mastermind group, what happens is that, the way we create it is that the norm is a level 4 consciousness. We elevate you to level 8 or level 10, or kind of keep it open for you if you're in that advanced group of the mastermind. So you can accelerate into whatever, say, level that you need to be. The higher the consciousness, the higher that you vibrate, the higher, say, opportunities or possibilities of ideas and concepts, great new inventions, that's where they come from, you have access to. Because again, you're a pure vessel. You're not burdened down by your distortions, and then you can elevate yourself. But imagine yourself, you're a group of 10 or 12 or 100 or 500 or 7.5 billion people. You all were, say, a much higher version of who you are now. Okay? What would that do to you? It would create not only better products and ideas and concepts in a much faster way, so your research and development shrinks down as far as cost and time goes, but then it also creates, say, a higher version of, say, the people that created those ideas. Okay? But that's only the small part of it, because in XI, although we use the terminology mastermind, it's actually the master consciousness. Okay? In the conventional definition of the mastermind, you're using the cognitive abilities, and that's it. Okay? You might have somebody who's intuitive and all that. Yes, that comes in, but for the most part, you're using your cognitive mind. Okay? That third personality that gets created is about cognitive, say, consciousness, or again, your mind. In the XI Mastermind, you're using a higher version of who you are. So your timeless self, some of you might call it your spirit, but your pure presence, your limitless self, your higher consciousness, your higher being. So you're tapping into that. Because again, we're removing the filters that create you as, say, a defined being in time. You move out of that defined being into your higher level. And I explained some of the benefits, but the other benefits are, you become of an expansive nature, you can connect to different ideas. But when you can do that, you connect to, a higher level of consciousness, which is much grander, and it has more probabilities, more outcomes, more concepts and ideas, more efficiently created for you. So it's not just an idea and then you go, how do I get that done? You get that idea, and then you can materialize how you can get it done in this physical reality for you. Okay? And that's really the key. So think of the possibilities if you're in a work structure, or if you want to go beyond, say if you're an athlete and you want to shave off that extra tenth of a second or whatever it might be, right? The other aspect of it as well is, and this is part of the lecture series, part of the Brilliant Mind series that we'll do, is that say Elon Musk, again, a brilliant individual, how does he connect, right? Or a Tesla, what consciousness, because it's not his brain, it's the consciousness that they connect with, or you, right? How did they connect? What consciousness? Or a Michael Jackson, if you're, want to get really creative. It's like, how did Michael Jackson become Michael Jackson? What was a consciousness that, say, Michael Jackson tapped into? So imagine that. So with the XI mastermind, you can start to, once you have the basics down, you can, say, extrapolate a different level of consciousness, or like a creative consciousness that you want to tap into, or a genius consciousness, or whatever that's there, and then mix it into the group. So it's not only the power of the group now, or a higher version of the group, but then it's already proven itself successful in this reality that we exist in, right? So at the higher levels, at the spiritual levels, you can go beyond the physical limitations or the physical understanding of, say, spirituality. Okay? You can expand beyond into, say, timeless arenas of consciousness that still exist. Timeless, say, aspects of, the universe. Timeless aspects of space and time, right? There's a consciousness for that. If there wasn't, we wouldn't be able to experience it here. Those are the possibilities on the XI mastermind for you. So I'll give you an example of 5 people and how it works. Okay, 5 people, they're at a level, say, 1 consciousness. Right? So the norm would be, say, 1. Right? So the 6th person that gets created of the 5, again, because there's always one extra individual. Whenever 2 or more individuals come together, we it creates another personality, another identity. That other identity that dictates to the group on how the group works, okay, the group relationships and so on like that, is a level 1. Okay? In a conventional mastermind, in an XI mastermind, it could be a level 6, it could be a level 12, or it could be whatever level, right? So here's the key, or here's the rub on the conventional mastermind, okay? And this is what XI, say, filters out, is that say this person's really gung-ho. You say that entrepreneur, he's got the right heart, he's really gung-ho, and he's at a level, say, 12. So he's weighted differently, right? Everybody else is at a level 1, he's weighted differently. So the consciousness curve of that, say, 6th person, say, expands into that higher identity. The more complete that person is, okay, the higher version, the higher everybody else gets pulled up. But usually it's a gradient. Okay? It's not just everybody jumps up. So say the next person out of the 5 is easily, say, motivated by that person. Well, their consciousness gets motivated to that level as well. That makes sense. So now, instead of being a level, so now you have a level 12, the next person would move from a level 1 to a level 6, okay? And so on, which is really fantastic. But here's the rub on that rub. And it all sounds great, but here's the rub. So say that you have, say, a level 12, really gung-ho, say what you want, say, the company to be or the group to be, okay? But then you have a person that's not so great, right? And they might be really intelligent, they might have a lot of fantastic ideas, and the key is that you're not just pulling in, what you want to work at or the task at hand. You're pulling in every aspect of that being. So that's why I call it that person's consciousness, not that person's personality, not that person. So you can't go, what personality type are you and all that stuff. It's the consciousness that they exist in, okay? So we're grading consciousness levels, okay? And consciousness, just briefly, it's a global setting on how you render your life here, right? So all I'm going to talk about consciousness, because it's a whole different subject on its own. So again, it's a global setting on how you create your life here. Simple as that. Okay? So now you have this person, say that's been abused, that's been distorted, that's been whatever, and they're at negative 12 consciousness or negative 20 consciousness. Okay? That consciousness, by the way, magnifies everybody because they're at extreme. So whether you're positive extreme, whether you're negative extreme, right? And this is where you see people, that one person that just draws everybody's energy, just like sucks the hell out of them down, no matter how fantastic it is, right? They're level 12 and everybody else is fantastic, but then there's that one person, okay? And they don't even have to be a negative 12. They could be a negative whatever, and it just like sucks them down because that norm, and I'm not going to get into the logistics on why negativity magnifies, but negativity magnifies in a mastermind group, right? Well, I'll get into it since it's coming to me. Sorry. So I just got this download. So the reason why, again, because it's a biological process, the mastermind, okay? It's not man-made, okay? It's not a conscious level, say, connection or creation. The biological process is that when you're in a mastermind, your weaknesses show through, okay? And in the proper biological process, used properly, like in XI format, your weaknesses show through. You have a strong support mechanism around you, the mastermind. It's like, hey, my weaknesses are showing through. This is all my bullshit. Here it is right in front of me. I need to do something about it or resolve it and get better. So that's the purpose why, again, negativity magnifies. Positives magnify as well. That makes sense to you. So that's the reason why. So it's a positive benefit, but since most people are insecure, what happens is that, well, that personality distortion starts to mix into, say, that other personality that gets created. So again, it pulls and draws everybody down. So that's something that you really have to be cautious about when creating a mastermind.